Two men, two delegations, one empty chair. Today, in a hangar at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will meet one-on-one. And what they decide in those minutes could redraw the map of a continent. You're watching a moment no newsroom can ignore. A surprise bilateral summit between the US president and Russia's leader, convened without Ukraine's president in the room. A move that has raised alarm and curiosity around the world. Trump has framed this as a chance to stop the killing and even chase the prize he's talked about publicly, a Nobel Peace Prize, a personal ambition that observers say hangs over the talks. Behind the closed doors will be a small, powerful cast. On Trump's side, a who's who of his cabinet and advisors. On Putin's, his top foreign and defense ministers, and only translators to bridge the two leaders. The optics are plain: high risk, high reward, and zero simple answers. What's at stake is more than headlines. The president has warned Russia there could be economically severe consequences if talks go nowhere, language that signals pressure even as he pursues a deal. Meanwhile, Kyiv and many Western capitals watch nervously. Could a US-Russia agreement that excludes Ukraine lock in concessions that Kyiv rejects? Or could this be the opening for a true ceasefire? The next hour will tell. Over the next 10 minutes, we'll break down what led to this meeting, who's in the room, the negotiating playbook both sides brought to Alaska, and the 3 realistic outcomes that would shake Europe. Stay with me. Before we dive into this breaking story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Let's start. This meeting did not happen in a vacuum. After more than 3 years of war, the US president has personally framed a one-on-one with Vladimir Putin as a chance to stop the killing and, not incidentally, to burnish his credentials as a global dealmaker. That personal ambition has been a recurring theme in media coverage and inside the White House. What's on the line is simple and huge: a ceasefire that actually holds the future of Ukrainian territory and the Western alliance's cohesion. Any bargain struck here will echo across Europe, inside NATO and inside Kyiv. And the optics of negotiating about Ukraine without Ukraine have already set off alarms in capitals from Warsaw to Kyiv. This summit is intentionally small. Both leaders brought tight teams, translators, top foreign policy aides, and a handful of defense and national security figures designed for speed and deniability. That slim footprint is meant to let the two presidents speak bluntly, but it also concentrates power. The fewer people in the room, the more a single handshake or paragraph in a readout can reshape policy. Axios and reporting on the summit schedule list the principal advisors and the tight format. Why that matters: with Ukraine's leadership not at the table, small wording differences in a readout, ceasefire, pause, stabilization, or recognition can have massive practical consequences on the ground and in international law. Trump's playbook looks like this: secure a fast, visible outcome that can be presented as a peace initiative, something that boosts his peacemaker narrative and, for him personally, advances a long-stated desire for recognition on the world stage. US public messaging ahead of the talks emphasized a push for a ceasefire and the possibility of security guarantees, while repeatedly stressing that severe economic pressure remains on the table if Russia refuses to move. Putin's playbook is the inverse: extract formal or informal gains for Russia in exchange for a halt in fighting, whether that's territorial acceptance, security assurances that limit Western influence in Ukraine, or sanctions relief, while avoiding being portrayed as the one who capitulated. Russian negotiators have historically moved slowly, probing concessions and seeking long-term leverage. Analysts expect Moscow to use any US appetite for a quick deal to press for concrete rewards. The United States still commands economic levers, sanctions, export controls, access to financial systems. The president publicly warned that failure to make progress could bring economically severe consequences. Language meant to remind Moscow of the costs at stake. That threat is real only if the White House can persuade allies to sustain pressure. Unilateral US measures can hurt, but their long-term bite is magnified when paired with European coordination. Russia's leverage is military presence on the ground and control of disputed territory. Its leverage also includes energy flows and diplomatic relationships with countries that could act as mediators. The balance of those levers will shape whether any agreement is durable. Volodymyr Zelensky was not invited to this initial bilateral, and Kiev has been outspoken. Talks about us without us will not work, his team warned. That exclusion creates a political and moral problem. Even a well-intentioned ceasefire risks freezing in gains Russia already seized, or offering security terms Kyiv cannot accept. European allies and Ukraine see the danger of sidelining the sovereign whose territory is at issue. Trump, for his part, has signalled he could arrange follow-up talks that include Kyiv, but sequencing matters. The first public demonstration of a US-Russia deal before Ukraine has a seat could force Kyiv to react defensively or harden its negotiating stance. Outcome A: limited ceasefire plus framework for talks. The two presidents agree to a short-term ceasefire and a roadmap for a trilateral negotiation that includes Kyiv. This would be billed as a diplomatic breakthrough while delaying the hardest decisions to a later phase. It's politically attractive and technically feasible, but fragile unless monitored and enforced with observers and clear timelines. Likely, medium impact. Outcome B: frozen conflict, to tacit territorial acceptance. The pair announce a stabilisation that, in practice, freezes front lines and leaves Russian territorial gains effectively intact, perhaps in exchange for partial sanction relief or security guarantees. This would be a major blow to Ukraine and to NATO unity, and would trigger political backlash across Europe and inside the US. Possible, high impact. Outcome C: no deal or public collapse. Negotiations stall or end in a publicised breakdown, perhaps within minutes, reinforcing toughness on both sides, but leaving the war to continue. The White House would play up sanctions and pressure. Russia would blame Western intransigence. This keeps the status quo and risks renewed escalation. Plausible, low to medium, immediate diplomatic gain. Watch the joint readout language. The exact words matter. Watch whether follow-up trilateral talks are scheduled, and who will monitor any ceasefire: UN observers, NATO partners, a new multinational body. Also watch markets and energy signals. Any hint of sanctions relief or economic entente immediately affects commodity flows and investor sentiment. And watch Kyiv's response. If Ukraine says any agreement is unacceptable, the practical implementation becomes nearly impossible. This meeting crystallizes a larger question about contemporary diplomacy. Can rapid, leader-level deals resolve entrenched, multi-year wars? Or do they risk simplifying complex, multi-actor conflicts into headline-friendly sound bites? The US president's personal ambitions and Putin's transactional approach create both possibility and peril. The immediate hour in Alaska will tell us how much risk both sides are willing to take, and whether the rest of the world will accept the result. We'll summarise the top 3 things to watch from today's statements, and what every possible outcome would mean for Ukrainians on the ground and for European security. Stay with me. Sources and timestamps are in the description. Axios, The Guardian, If this video helped you follow what's happening in Alaska, do me a quick favour. Hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss breaking updates. I post daily explainers like this. Share this video with someone who's trying to understand what a US-Russia deal would actually mean. Now I want to hear from you. Which of the three outcomes do you think is most likely? A short ceasefire, a frozen deal that favors Moscow, or no deal at all? Drop your pick and a short reason in the comments. I read everyone and pin the best replies. Don't forget, all sources, timestamps and chapter markers are in the description below. Check them for links to the reporting and primary readouts. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in the next update.